send you an email. I said, nope, it's all you.
It's all you, yeah.
Yep.
Because that's what happened to me when my first license expired.
Mhm.
I forgot about it, and hadn't used it, and then I had to retake all the tests over and everything.
Only time FCC will contact you is when they want money for your
Well, that's all federally
your license.
bans.
Otherwise, you don't hear from them. And if it's not for money and you hear from them, then you got a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so there's some bands that are shared with other services, and amateurs may be secondary on those bands, which means you have to negotiate or move, okay, because they are the primary user. And once again, you can't cause interference with the primary user, just like you're not supposed to cause interference with anybody. But particularly if you're secondary. How are U.S. amateurs restricted in segments of bands where the amateur radio service is secondary?
Mhm.
Question, can the FCC, let's say, can the FCC come in and shut down all those bands they wanted to? For, let's say,
I suppose.
emergency services, emergency, national emergency, stuff like that, can they come in there and shut that down?
Well,
Or is it something that,
remember, it's a policing body. They can fine you, but they have no
They can't
physical way to
shut
shut
it
it down.
okay, that's what I'm curious. It's always, other than them coming and taking your radio and stuff like that, those radio bands and frequencies, they're always open, they can't shut you down unless they just, physically come in.
I mean, they can put a thing out where you can't operate on that band, or they can change the band. But they physically can't stop you from doing it. You may be breaking the regulation, but they can't physically stop
That's
you,
right. I just want to make sure.
at least. Now, maybe the NSA has enough
Bandwidth that they can do that.
jamming equipment they can block everybody, but I doubt that.
Question. Good. My sister, yeah, my sister worked for NSA and NRO, so I have to ask her about that.
Well, she probably can't tell you without killing you.
She's told me that several times. Not the killing part, but I can't tell you.
Okay, as a technician, you have full privileges in the VHF, UHF, and up. Okay, so that means above 30 megahertz. So 6 meters is part of that. 10 meters is below 30. It's 28. So you only have that little section of voice and limited power, which is the 200 watts, where normally you'd have 1500 watts. Except for some specific restrictions, what's the maximum peak envelope power output for a technician class operator, for technician class operators using frequencies above 30 megahertz?
Mhm.
And you remember what peak envelope power is?
I'm just thinking the most you can operate. Even what the peak of that specific that you could operate at.
Because you're modulating it, so it's the peak of the modulation of the signal. What's the maximum peak envelope power output for technician class operators in their HF band segments?
It's true.
Now,
That's what I was gonna say. Hey, I'm gonna be getting it,
Okay.
just to see.
50 was the weird one.
Okay.
License class determines where you can operate, what modes and what power. So as an extra, you can operate on all bands, all modes that are allowed on those bands at maximum power for that band. Now there's, which is it? 60 is the weird one. And it's less than maximum power, right?
What's that?
60 meters.
Yeah.
16 meters, I think it's 200.
Yeah.
It's going down to 50. It's 200.
Yeah.
And we were. It's going down, no, it's 100 on here.
Yeah.
It's going
Everything
down
else is
100.
1500.
Well, I don't know how old this card is, but I think I got this, I think he butts out these cards before
Yeah.
the ruling. Yeah, they, but it's going down to 50? I think so. They, used to have 60 meters channelized into 5 channels. Now they're taking, I think it's channel 5. And just making a real small band at 50 watts. So.
Okay. If you get a new license, you can only get a technician, a general, or an amateur extra. You can no longer get a novice or advanced. People that have advanced can continue and get it renewed. Not sure that's true with a novice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they can still just renew
Okay.
it to keep it active, but I was wondering about the Tech Plus. What's that all about?
It's not available anymore.
Yeah. What was the difference between it and technician or?
That was the.
I think that was no code, right?
No code.
No code.
The license term is 10 years where you can operate. And it becomes effective as soon as it shows up in the FCC database. That's one of those things that they do not notify you. You have to go online and check, look up by your FRN or well, if you're a technician, you won't have a call sign, so you have to look it up by your name or FRN and see whether or not it shows up.
How long does it take to appear?
It depends.
Soon.
Well, soon
Uh,
I did my renewal, it showed up the next day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally, it's only a day or two.
Okay.
However, since the ARL was hacked,
Oh,
you didn't hear about that?
no.
Oh,
When did this happen?
This week?
oh no, it's been
Couple of weeks.
It's been over a week.
well,
wow.
more than 2 weeks.
Logbook of the World is still down.
Yeah. I got an email from them either Thursday night or yesterday that they did have the license processing back up finally. That's been down for 2 weeks. So you say how long? It could be over 2 weeks because we had a guy Tuesday a week ago pass his tech in general. He doesn't have his license yet because it was ARL and they didn't send it to
So
the FCC.
test with the Laurel. You do Laurel also, don't you?
Yeah, but this was ARL.
Yeah.
The Laurel doesn't have that problem.
Yeah.
And we do it on Saturday and you have it Sunday or Monday morning.
Oh, is that the ones that you do?
Mhm.
Okay.
He does both. He's what ambidextrous,
Yeah.
bilingual.
Try.
He's
I do Central Alabama too.
Ooh, hold on. I want to hear some Alabama talk.
That's the way they talk too.
No, it ain't. You know better than that.
That's Tennessee.
Okay. It's effective for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, if you haven't renewed it, you have a 2-year grace period. You cannot operate, but you only have to pay. After 2 years, you have to take the element 2, which is the technician exam, regardless of what you were, even if you were an extra. You have to take the technician exam and pass it in order to get restored. And then you get another 10 years. Oh, and the other one they only give you one license, like one call sign.
Mhm.
So it's both a station license and an operator's license. They actually, if you print it out, you get a certificate, which is your station license, and then you get a little wallet size thing, which is kind of your control operator license. But they're the same call sign, and it's only one per person. You can't have more than one call sign in the United States. Now you can have a call sign registered in another country
Hmm.
and operate there remotely or go there.
There's a little paperwork I have to
Wonderful.
fill out, can't forget.
Wonder why Walt does the coastal waves and wires, cause he's always overseas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, your
Yeah.
call sign,
Hey, Whiskey Oscar
call
India.
sign in the United States, can you go to Germany and use it? Or do you have to have a call state in that country before you can operate?
Depends on the agreement with the country
Okay,
is what you can do.
okay.
I think we get into a little bit of that. So, which license classes or new licenses currently available from the FCC? What's the normal term for an FCC issued amateur radio license? How soon after passing the examination for your first amateur radio license may you transmit on the amateur radio bands? Church. You know. Yep. If you're getting an upgrade, you can operate like you're a technician, you take the exam for a general and you pass.
Mhm.
You don't have to wait for it to show up. You can operate with a /AG acting general or acting extra. You can't do that as a technician because you didn't have a license to begin with.
Okay, that makes sense.
How many operator or station license grants may be held by any one person? Okay, they issue the license electronically. They don't send you anything. Like I said before, your only communications with the FCC is when they email you on how to pay them the $35. They don't tell you your license is expired or that it's available and been assigned, any of the above. And I think, if I recall, when I did the vanity license, I filled out the form, put all the possible choices, and I don't remember that they told me it was available. I had to keep checking
So
in
it's
the database.
$35, is that, do you pay that yearly or is it just a one time?
One time,
Okay,
right.
when you get your license.
For a new license or a vanity.
Okay,
If it's an upgrade, so far you don't have to pay. That'll be the next thing, is they'll start charging for upgrades. Okay, they don't issue a paper license, however, they have a PDF file that you can download and print out a copy.
okay.
What proves the FCC has issued an operator or primary license grant? We didn't really talk about that.
Mhm.
One of those questions, I said, let's see if they were paying attention,
Yeah.
change the wording.
I'll say, A&J is Applejet.
Mhm.
Actually.
Now, you said you can go on there and print out your license. Do they require that you have all that? In case they come knocking at your door and wanna see your,
Business license, yeah.
You're supposed to have a copy of your license at your station.
okay,
And they used to issue them as certificates, I think.
Yeah, I took like the one I just showed you, you cut it off the bottom,
uh-huh,
and then I carry mine in my wallet,
okay.
and basically, and I got one at the office on the wall.
One of the things here is the CSCE, the Certificate of Successful Completion of Examination.
Uh-huh,
When you pass one of the exams, you will get a CSCE. That shows that you pass, it proves you passed the exam. Okay, it's not proof that you were issued a call sign or a license.
it just shows. that you
But
passed.
if something happens, that's your proof that you took the exam and you passed it. Like, maybe it was 5 years ago and you want to do an upgrade. That's your proof, even if for some reason you didn't have your call sign or something. Huh?
Or you got hacked.
And
Yeah. So,
that's good for a year.
when you do the exam and you pass,
Mhm.
is it your responsibility to send that information or?
No,
It gets automatic?
that's taken care of by the
Examiner?
VE team. They,
$35.
no, they only collect 15.
Uh-huh.
FCC collects 35. So your license will cost you $50. Unless you go to Laurel.
And how much do you take?
None.
Okay,
However, the ARL examinees examiners are allowed to take up to like $7 for
their time.
Yeah, for those.
paying for,
For the-
paperwork,
the end of the-
stamps and stuff.
So that he can. calm down.
$7. I'll hire you right now.
No, that's just part of the 15 that they get to keep or can. We don't, but we could keep up to that much. Like you have to buy stamps to mail stuff, the package in, although now you do it electronically. So you just put all the stuff together and scan it into a PDF file and upload it to the ARL. And then when they're not hacked, they pass it on to the FCC. And that only takes a few hours
Where I
under
found-
normal circumstances.
Where I found the problem, like you had to go to ARL, get the link to go to the FCC, get your FCC number, and then go back to ARL and go find out where you were. You finish the license fit process and then get it back to the.
But Bob said he would do that for us.
No, that's
What's that?
You would give us the number so that we could take the exam? Don't you have to have a?
You have to get an FR.
And you said you would give that to us, right? Or give us the link?
No, I give you a link,
Okay,
and then you get the info, then he gives.
But that's
you that,
easy.
And then you can go back.
and you can do that anytime.
okay,
It's just your federal reference number
okay,
that covers any kind of licensing or whatever in the federal system. So it's not just amateur radio. It's GMRS or whatever the maritime stuff is, any of those aircraft.
mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go back to the licensing fee because I got a little confused. So if you go through Laurel, it doesn't cost.
There's an examination fee,
Okay,
and a license fee.
okay,
So,
okay,
And depending on where you take your exam, the licensing fee may be anywhere from 0 to 15. I
okay.
don't know anybody that charges more than 15.
okay.
And in fact, if you're under, gosh, what is it? I want to say 5, but I think that's too young. Anyway, children can do the ARL for $5. I forgot what the age.
I think it's
Take it.
18, under 18, $5.
Okay.
But if
so
you do one like,
hire rural examiners, they're not just cheap, they're free.
Okay, thank you.
You always pay for it, right?
yeah. Okay. After you pass your exam as a technician,
Mhm.
you will be assigned out of a pool for the particular area, a call sign, and they're sequential. So we're currently like KO4 XYZ something.
Mhm.
So it'll be something like that. If you want a different one called a vanity,
Mhm.
then you have to fill out another similar to the 605 form, put down the call signs that you would like in priority
And
Okay.
and pay them $35 and submit it. And they will assign you the first one available, if any.
Okay. You get your $35 back if they.
No.
find one.
Well, I don't think they charge you if they don't, I'm not sure.
Okay,
I don't think they charge you if none of them work.
okay.
And you should search them all to make sure they're available.
Oh,
that's
that's a
what
good
can
idea.
actually, if I wanted to go back and get my original call sign that I had 20 years ago, can I go back and submit the Form 6, see if it's still available?
Well, you
Make
just
sure.
go online and in the database search, the ULS system,
Mhm.
and put in your FRN number or that call sign.
Yeah.
And see whether it's available.
Available.
It'll say whether it's active or expired.
Expired jump on.
That was a KC4 DFI. My first one.
That's how I got my advanced potentate. Finally, failed to renew his license, so I jumped on it. So now I get my initials. It's something I can remember. No one else can remember it, but I can remember
Yeah.
it.
Makes sense.
Now, if you request a vanity call sign, okay, if you're a technician, you can only request a 2x2, 2x3, or 1x3. You can't get a 1x2 or a 2x1. Those are reserved for the high mucky muck extras.
One.
It's another boasting thing.
Mhm.
And I guess the A's, it can start with an A, a K, an N, or a W. I think the A's were originally for advanced. And I was looking to see,
So,
I don't think I could find an A 1x2. Didn't seem to be any. So they appear to be all 2x1s.
I could do an AVP.
An A4 VP, yeah, but
Yeah.
there were no A4s, no A0s, no A1s, no A3s. I searched.
Wow.
Something special about those.
As far as your sequentially assigned number that the FCC gives you when you first get your license. The number in those it coordinates to your area. And I forgot what they call it.
Region or whatever.
Yeah. And so like we're in Fort area, the southeast, so
Okay.
everybody's gonna get a 4 when you get your initial license. If you apply for a vanity license, then that's open. You can pick whatever number
Wow.
you want.
Which is why I have a 3. Because it was the only, huh?
Why'd you pick a 3?
It was the only one I could find with RDL.
Oh, okay.
Are those your initials?
Just don't pick 6, please.
Why?
California.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We'll make a note of that.
There's some examples there of an A type, which is we call that a 2x1.
Mhm.
It's 2 letters, a number, and 1 letter.
Okay.
Mine's a 1x3. N1 KSE is a 1x3. This is a 2x3.
Okay.
There's also 2x2s. So who may select a desired call sign under the vanity call sign rules? Yep. anybody. It's just you have to follow the restrictions. Oops, went too far.
Alpha.
You think it's alpha? What was the question? What's a valid technician class call sign out of those? So we know that 2x3 we know that a 2x1 is reserved for extras. So technician can't have that. And a 1x2 is also an extra. So obviously all these choices are not correct. Okay, expiration. You have to renew it within your 10 years plus the 2-year grace period. However, during the grace period, you can't operate. And if you go past that, then you have to retake the technician test. I believe there's a 90-day window where, and I'm not sure why, you can't renew it more than 90 days before it expires. I don't know why. What is the grace period for renewal if an amateur license expires? If your license has expired, still within 2 years, may you continue to transmit on the amateur bands? Okay, you can have a club license, okay, where a station license is applied for by a club. It takes, I think, 4 people to become a club for the rules. And what's the Indian? Is that W2SDB is the,
It's one.
or NLX? Which
We
one?
have 3, I guess. We have W2SDB.
Yeah,
AJ4 IR.
but the club license can only be one.
Usually we'll do field day with AJ4 IR.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It works out pretty good phonetically out in Japan for Italy radio. And people seem to pick that up a little bit better than doing
Okay.
W4 NLX, Whiskey 4, November Lima X-ray.
N1KSC is the station license for the KSC club, and it's also the repeater call sign. And there'd be a trustee for the repeater and the station license. Which of the following is a requirement for the issuance of a club station license grant? Valid emails. Okay, since that's the only way the FCC communicates with you. You must have a valid email address and you must maintain it, because if they can't contact you, they will revoke your license. I'm not sure what brought that about, but it
Did
happened.
they vote it before or what? So they have to vote it again?
Yeah. Which of the following can result in revocation of the station license or suspension of the operator license? Okay, international water operations. Okay. Any licensed amateur can operate in international waters. If you're aboard a ship or a vessel in international waters and it's registered or documented to the United States. Now, it seems like most of the cruise ships are not registered here.
Yeah.
Well, neither a lot of the private vessels, like the yachts
And
and
I-
stuff like that.
And I believe, maybe we get to it later, that you have to get permission from the captain if you're on a
Mhm.
boat in
Mhm.
order to operate.
Right.
Just
That's
like
what-
if you're gonna do it on an airplane. They don't talk about airplanes, but I guess technically you can operate from an airplane.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I've talked to people on 20 meters that were flying.
How much difference is the marine bands radios, like the handheld marine band versus the single sideband? I know they're different frequencies, but I see them a lot of times when we're sailing, we see them on.
Mine was like that.
Different size wise or how?
I mean, the bandwidths for the marine band, like, you know, they're on most every boat now
Yeah.
versus the hand bands,
That's all VHF.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, gosh, what is that? Just below the 2 meter band, if I remember correctly?
I don't
Well,
know.
no, that'd be aircraft, just above the, 2 meter
Yeah,
band.
because I know there's no licensing required for the marine bands at the moment. I know.
Oh, really?
I know. I mean, because we had the 25 watts on the boat, on the boats.
They just want you to monitor channel 16 anytime you're out.
Yeah, that's a distress
Yeah.
channel. Yeah.
Between 156 and 174.
So that is a little bit more band spectrum than the 2 meter on the amateur band. So.
From which of the following locations may an FCC licensed amateur station operate? Okay, so when you're operating on a amateur radio secondary band, which means somebody else's primary user, okay, you have to defer to the primary user, and you're not, just like any other time, you're not permitted to interfere with them. So if they're using that frequency or channel, you have to move or stop transmitting. Unless you can negotiate, which
Mhm.
not sure why they would relinquish since they're the primary user.
And usually we only think of 2 bands, but it's basically all the HF bands. We think of the 220 band. A lot of the emergency services and, like EMTs
Mhm.
use that for their equipment. And then 60 meters, which is military. But the HF bands, there are sometimes broadcast stations overseas,
Mhm.
especially on 40 meters. That operate. And even though they're not under our regulation,
Mhm.
we can't operate in their broadcast.
Oh,
Because they're under the ITU.
Yeah.
Above 30 megahertz, technicians can go up to 1,500 watts or maximum allowed power. I don't imagine that's going to be changing anytime soon. You can only operate 200 watts on the HF band segments you're allowed to operate in. Voice on 10 meters and CW on what, 80, 40, and 15. Why not 20?
There's no technician segment down there.
Or technician not allowed to operate CW on 20. I don't know why.
That's probably because it's already jam packed.
It could be.
20 is. Yeah, it's nearly impossible to find a frequency there anyway.
For new licenses, you can only get a technician, a general, or an amateur extra. It's 10 years term, 2-year grace period, non-operating period. It becomes effective as soon as it shows up in the ULS database. So if you go to the fcc.org and go down, one of the selections will be ULS.
Mhm.
And it'll give you a thing where you can do a search. And you can search by call sign, by name, or FRN. To get an FRN, you need to go to fcc.org and select CORES, CORES. And then you can fill out the form for an FRN number. And it's basically instantaneous once you fill out the form and submit.
Mhm.
As long as you filled out all the little boxes. Vanity call signs, anybody can get one. You're just restricted if you're a technician or a general. You can't get a 1x2 or a 2x1. And if you're expired, you have to take the exam in order to renew your license. If it's not totally expired, then you just, if it's gone past the 2 years, you have to take the technician exam. If you're within the 2 years, you just have to pay. You can get a club or station license. Club has to be 4 members or more. You'll lose your license if you don't maintain a valid email address, although the only time they contact you is for their money.
I think on the ships that are not registered in the United States, it says documented or registered. And I think if they're coming into US ports, they're all documented.
Really?
Oh,
I would think so, because they have, what's that act that they have to go offshore and come back? If they're a foreign registered vessel.
Where you've got a visa entry on a pleasure yacht, I think it's 90 days, and you've got to go offshore for 7 days and then come back.
Yeah, on like the cruise ships, they have to go to international waters, but it's not
Right.
that long.
Yeah, so like, we've got some friends that are registered in the Bikini Islands. And then when they come here, they've got to go, they could stay for 90 days, and then they got to go to the Bahamas for a week, and then they can come back and then re-register. So then that would be the document itself.
so Bob, did you say you have to go to the
Uh-oh.
fcc.org?
Better get out of this.
FCC.org.
Okay.
And from there, you'll get a page and it'll have a bunch of options. One of those will be ULS. Another one will be CORES, CORES. That's where you can get your FRN number. You can also go to the ARL site and they have a link on how to do it and take you there too.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Very excited to the bus right away.
Yeah.
And you need that FRN number to apply for